All right, welcome back for another deep dive. You guys sent over some articles all about the 2025 SAG Awards.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. We're going to be looking at the winners, of course, the fashion, and we've got that Timothy Chalamet acceptance speech that everybody's been talking about.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely one to watch.
Yeah, I have to admit, I am really curious to see if the SAG Awards live up to that reputation of being like the Oscar predictor.
Right.
Especially this year, it seems like there's a lot of really strong contenders.
For sure. I mean, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, or, SAG Awards for short, they're voted on by the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, the SAG-AFTRA.
Okay, hold on.
A mouthful.
Yeah, that's a lot. So it's basically actors voting for actors, though, right?
Exactly.
But how does the voting actually work? Is it kind of like the Oscars where they have like, all the different branches for best cinematography and all that, or is it different?
That's a really important distinction, actually. Unlike the Oscars, the SAG Awards focus solely on acting. All SAG-AFTRA members vote for the winners in every single category.
Oh, wow.
So it's really a direct reflection of their peers' opinions. Makes it really unique.
Interesting. So it's like a popularity contest.
Kinda.
Among actors. But our listener wants to know if these awards can predict who will win an Oscar. What does history tell us?
There's a pretty strong correlation historically, especially in the acting categories.
Okay.
A lot of the SAG winners over the past decade have gone on to win Oscars. It's not a perfect system, but it's definitely something to pay attention to.
Worth keeping an eye on. Okay, well, let's dive into it and see who took home those coveted actor statues this year. Starting with the film categories, our sources say there was a big upset for outstanding performance by a cast.
Yeah, Conclave kind of surprised everyone.
Really?
By beating out Wicked.
Wicked. Wow. Okay, I'm curious about this one. Why was it such a shock? Did it not do well with critics?
No, Conclave actually got a lot of critical acclaim.
Okay.
But it just had a limited release compared to Wicked, which was like everywhere.
Right.
I mean, Wicked had Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo. Everybody thought it was a sure thing.
Right.
So for Conclave to win that was a real shakeup.
Wow. So does this upset change Conclave's chances at the Oscars at all, do you think?
It definitely adds some unpredictability.
Yeah.
Especially since actors make up a big chunk of those Academy voters. This win could mean a shift in momentum.
Interesting. Okay. Well, speaking of momentum, Timothy Chalamet won his first major award for his performance as Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown.
Huge for him.
Yeah. Do you think this puts him in a good spot for the Best Actor Oscar?
Oh, absolutely. It's a big deal. I mean, his performance has generated a ton of buzz.
Yeah.
And now he's right at the front of that Oscar race.
I thought it was interesting in his speech he mentioned his mom working for Actors Equity. Can you explain what that is for those of us who might not know?
Sure. So Actors Equity Association represents stage actors and stage managers.
Oh.
They negotiate contracts, make sure the working conditions are fair, and they really advocate for the rights of their members.
So he comes from a theatrical family. That's really cool. And he also talked about being inspired by artists like Daniel Day-Lewis, Marlon Brando, and even athletes like Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps. What do you think his choice of inspirations tells us about his approach to acting?
I think it shows his dedication to his craft.
Yeah.
He wants to be great, And by mentioning those icons, he's putting himself in that lineage of excellence.
That's a really good point.
Like he wants to reach those same heights.
Yeah, and he even kind of channels some Bob Dylan in his outfit, too, with that neon green shirt and leather jacket.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the articles said he was giving some serious Zoolander vibes.
Well, his fashion choices always get people talking.
They do. Okay, well, moving on from Chalamet's big win, we had Demi Moore, who won Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in a Leading Role for The Substance.
What a comeback.
Yeah, this puts her in a good spot for Best Actress, wouldn't you say?
Definitely going to be an interesting race.
Yeah.
And this win gives her a real advantage.
Okay, and we should mention the supporting actor categories, too. Kieran Culkin won for A Real Pain.
What a title.
I know, right? And Zoe Saldana won for Emilia Perez.
Both incredible performances.
Yeah, definitely.
Casing the amazing talent we have this awards season.
Before we came to television, I do want to touch on a couple more things in the film categories. First, we have the Life Achievement Award. This year, it went to the iconic Jane Fonda.
So well-deserved.
I know, right?
I mean, not only is she an amazing actress, but she's also a tireless activist.
She is.
A true Hollywood legend.
And speaking of Hollywood legends in fashion, Jane Fonda's outfit was something else. Beaded gown, but it had these designs that kind of look like a bunch of little mustaches.
Oh, yeah. She always surprises us with her fashion.
She does, but you got to give her credit for always keeping things interesting.
Always.
Okay, are you ready to dive into the world of television?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
You've got some big wins to discuss.
Oh, I'm especially curious about Shogun.
Well, I can tell you right now, Shogun was the big winner for television. They took home Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble in a Drama Series and a few other awards, too.
Wow, they cleaned up. What else did they win?
So on top of that Ensemble award, Shogun also won for its stunt ensemble, and then 2 individual acting awards, Anna Sawai, who plays the female lead, and Hiroyuki Sanada, who plays the male lead, both took home actor statues.
They swept the drama categories.
They did?
That's incredible.
It seems like historical dramas are really having a moment right now.
They are, but did any other shows manage to break through Shogun's dominance?
They did. In the comedy world, Only Murders in the Building continued their winning streak, taking home outstanding performance by an ensemble in a comedy series.
I love that show. So clever.
Yeah.
Did any of the actors win individually?
Yes. Martin Short won Outstanding Performance by a Male Actor in a Comedy Series.
Oh, well-deserved. He's so funny.
And of course, we can't forget Jane Smart. She won again for Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in a Comedy Series for her role in Hacks.
She is just brilliant.
Voters can't get enough of her.
She's amazing.
Okay, so moving on to the limited series and television movie categories, Colin Farrell won for his role as Oswald Cobblepot, a.k.a. the Penguin, in the HBO Max spinoff The Penguin.
I've heard such great things about his performance.
Yeah.
Really complex and layered.
And then for the women, Jessica Gunning won for her role in Baby Reindeer.
Oh, Baby Reindeer. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on my list.
Oh, it's good.
Gunning is fantastic. I'm not surprised she won.
All right, well, I think we've covered all the major winners from this year's SAG Awards. It's been quite a night, but we're not done yet. We still have a lot to unpack.
We do.
We need to figure out the significance of these awards, what they tell us about the upcoming Oscars, and about the future of the entertainment industry.
Lots to analyze.
Yeah, what do you say we take a quick break and come back to delve a little deeper into those trends and themes that came out of this year's ceremony?
Sounds good to me.
I'm especially curious to see how these SAG wins shake up that Oscar race.
Me too.
All right, we'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the 2025 SAG Awards.
See you soon. Welcome back to our deep dive on those 2025 SAG Awards.
Now, before we went to break, we were talking about the potential impact of these wins on the upcoming Oscars, and you had asked a great question.
I did.
Were there any results that really surprised you? Like, I know we talked about Conclave pulling off that upset.
Yeah.
But were there any other wins that caught you off guard? And what about you, listener? Were there any results that surprised you? Let us know.
You know, it's fun to speculate and everything, but we have to remember that these awards are just one small piece of a much larger story.
Okay, so what is the bigger picture then? What do these awards tell us about the current state of Hollywood, the kinds of stories that are resonating with audiences?
Well, the SAG Awards are really interesting because they focus specifically on actors.
Right.
So they offer a unique perspective on how the entertainment industry is evolving.
Okay.
And I think this year's winners highlight a growing appreciation for diverse storytelling and representation, which is really exciting.
Yeah, you're right. We saw wins for films and shows with international casts, stories that tackle complex social issues, characters that break away from those traditional stereotypes.
Exactly.
It's really cool.
Like Shogun, for example.
Yeah.
Its success at the SAG Awards could mean we're going to see a growing interest in these historical dramas that delve into different cultures and offer fresh perspectives on the past.
Yeah, and Emilia Perez, with its exploration of gender identity, is another example of how Hollywood is starting to embrace those stories that push boundaries and challenge those conventional norms.
Absolutely.
Instead of just mentioning that it deals with gender identity, can you tell us a little bit more about how the film actually approaches that topic?
Sure. Emilia Perez tells the story of a Mexican drug lord who undergoes a magical sex change to disappear and avoid capture.
Wow.
So it's a very unique film. It tackles issues of gender identity transformation in a bold and often humorous way.
That sounds fascinating. It definitely seems like audiences are eager for these stories that reflect the complexities of our world and challenge us to think outside the box.
Oh, for sure. And it's not just about the subject matter, it's also about the talent involved. This year, we saw wins for both seasoned veterans like Jane Fonda and Demi Moore, and rising stars like Timothy Chalamet and Anna Sawai.
I think that mix of established icons and up-and-coming talent is really encouraging.
It is.
It shows that there's room for a diversity of voices and experiences in Hollywood.
Exactly. And it was so inspiring to see so many of the winners use their acceptance speeches to talk about their craft and their commitment to excellence.
Yeah, that really stood out to me too. Like Timothy Chalamet when he talked about striving for greatness and being inspired by, artists like Daniel Day-Lewis and athletes like Michael Jordan. What did you make of his speech?
I think it says a lot about his work ethic. He really wants to push himself to be the best he can be. By referencing these legendary figures from different fields, he's saying that the pursuit of excellence goes beyond any single profession.
That's a great point. He's not just talking about acting.
Right.
He's talking about a mindset, a dedication to your craft, no matter what that craft is.
Exactly. And I think that message resonated with people. It's refreshing to hear someone talk so passionately about striving for something bigger than yourself.
It also struck me that there was a real sense of camaraderie and mutual respect among the nominees, even those who were in direct competition with each other?
Oh, absolutely. There were so many genuine moments of support and celebration. It felt like everyone was truly happy for each other's successes.
Yeah, it was really nice to see.
It was heartwarming.
Yeah, very different from that cutthroat competitive atmosphere you sometimes hear about in Hollywood.
Right. It reminded me that at the end of the day, they're all part of the same community.
Yeah.
All working towards the same goal to create and share stories that move and inspire people.
And let's be real for a second, award shows are also about the fashion.
Oh, of course.
Were there any red carpet looks that caught your eye?
I was obsessed with Cynthia Erivo's Silver Givenchy ensemble.
Oh, yeah.
It was so futuristic and glamorous, like something out of a sci-fi movie. What about you?
I loved Pamela Anderson's angelic white gown. She looked radiant.
Oh.
And how can we forget Jane Fonda's beaded number with those, shall we say, unique embellishments?
Huh. You mean the mustache designs?
Yeah.
She always knows how to make a statement.
But speaking of statements, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I do want to circle back to what you said earlier about these awards being just a small part of a much larger story. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Sure. It's easy to get caught up in the glitz and glamour of the awards themselves, but we have to remember that they're really just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Behind each nomination are hundreds, sometimes thousands of people who worked so hard to bring these films and shows to life.
Yeah, you're right. Writers, directors, producers, cinematographers, editors, costume designers, composers, set designers.
So many talented people,
Yeah.
and we can't forget the actors themselves and the countless hours they put into their craft.
Right, all the research, the rehearsals, the emotional and physical demands of playing those characters.
It's a huge undertaking.
So these awards are really just a way of acknowledging a tiny fraction of the effort and creativity that goes into making these works of art.
Exactly. And while it's great to celebrate the winners, it's equally important to recognize the collective effort of everyone involved in bringing those stories to the screen.
Okay, so we've talked about the diversity of storytelling, the inspiring speeches, the camaraderie among the nominees, and the collaborative nature of filmmaking. Now, I'm curious to hear from you, listener.
Yes.
What stood out to you the most about this year's SAG Awards? Were there any particular moments that surprised you, delighted you, or made you think differently about the entertainment industry? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yes.
And stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore some of the broader trends emerging from the 2025 SAG Awards and what they might tell us about the future of film and television. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the 2025 SAG Awards. We've talked about the winners, the speeches, the fashion, even the spirit of collaboration in the industry.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
It has. But now I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about the future.
Okay.
Do you think these awards give us any clues about what's next for film and television?
I think they do. You know, the SAG Awards often reflect trends in what audiences like
Right.
and the kinds of stories that are being told. So this year we saw some themes emerge that I think could really shape the future of entertainment.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on us. What kind of trends are we talking about?
Well, one that really stood out was this rise of historical dramas, especially ones that are kind of offering a fresh perspective on the past, you know, like Shogun.
Yeah, it does seem like we're seeing more and more shows that are taking us back to different time periods and cultures. But what sets these new historical dramas apart from what we might have seen in the past?
I think it's a few things. First, these shows are just visually stunning.
Yeah.
The technology and the production design are just incredible, but they're also going deeper than just the spectacle. They're really digging into the complexities of history, you know, challenging those traditional narratives and presenting a more well-rounded view of the past.
That's a good point. And that ties into another trend we've been talking about, the recognition of those films and shows that explore themes of identity,
Yes,
personal and societal.
absolutely.
Emilia Perez is a perfect example. You know, it's tackling issues of gender identity and transformation in a way that's bold, but also really entertaining.
Right.
It seems like audiences are ready for stories that challenge the norm and explore different facets of the human experience.
They are, and it's not just about checking boxes or, you know, following a trend.
Right.
It's about recognizing all this amazing talent that exists outside of those traditional Hollywood molds and giving those voices a platform.
I love that. And it's not just about the voices behind the camera either. We're seeing so many complex and compelling female characters taking center stage.
Yes. Think about Demi Moore's performance in The Substance, or Jean Smart's sharp wit in Hacks, or Anna Sawai in Shogun.
Yeah.
These are not just side characters, you know. These
right.
are fully realized women with their own motivations, their flaws, their triumphs.
It's so refreshing to see those female characters who are more than just a love interest or a damsel in distress.
They
You know,
quickly.
they're driving this story,
Right.
making tough choices,
Yes.
defying expectations.
And that's a trend I really hope continues.
Me too. We need more of those stories for sure.
Yes.
Okay, speaking of trends, we also saw this blurring of lines between film and television.
Oh, yeah.
Colin Farrell's win for The Penguin is a perfect example. He's playing a character that originated in a movie,
Right.
but now he's starring in a TV show that dives into his backstory.
Right. And that's happening more and more.
Yeah.
Those boundaries between film and television are definitely becoming less rigid, which is exciting.
It is. So if we were to kind of sum up the key takeaways from this year's SAG Awards, what would they be? What does it all mean for the future of entertainment?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the industry is changing.
Mm.
Audiences want more diverse, more inclusive, more challenging stories, and Hollywood is starting to listen.
Yeah, we're seeing a shift toward stories that reflect the complexities of our world, that celebrate a wider range of voices and perspectives, and that really push the boundaries of what's possible.
It's a really exciting time.
It is. Before we wrap up, though, I do want to leave our listener with one final thought to kind of ponder.
Okay.
Given all these trends we've been talking about, what kind of stories do you hope to see more of in the future? What voices do you think deserve to be heard?
What do you think, listener? And how can we, as viewers and consumers of entertainment, support the content that we want to see?
Those are great questions to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the 2025 SAG Awards.